but you never seen her. I testify, I don't need a subpoena. They want my soul, better go to Korea. I love my dog just like I'm Peter. Gotta protect him. I made the call up with just like I'm reffing. I know we left, yeah, now we back together, but I guess that is better now. Later than never, like, what's happening? I'ma need y'all quit asking when. Me and my wife gonna have some kids. Right now we just practicing. Practicing. Teacher said quit rapping, man. That gon' hurt my average. I said thank God I ain't average. Yeah, I'm a bright young man. Kill the GPA and the BPM. Look, we on. So say what you say, cause that's A with Lecrae. From the A train to the A, I'm coming in hot. I don't do the most, but I do a lot. I'ma make a toast, cause we still alive. No big, I feel like Pac. I shoot a shot. I'm coming in hot. Coming in. Shoot that shot. Hey, why not? Hey, yo, I'm coming in.
Wake 'em up, wake 'em up. Wake 'em up, wake 'em up. See him still sleeping, so I had to shake 'em up. I kept it too real. I wasn't faking up. My real life was a headline. Your real life got a deadline. My timeline was a hashtag. Your timeline just a hate crime. Coming in hot, feeling like Pac. Back in 94 when he took 5 shots. Too much drive to ride your wave. Ditch my top and I'm off that lot. Black on black on black on black on black on black on black. You don't have to ball a rap to get them racks on racks. Uber poolers trying to catch my vibe and find my way. Yeah, I know I'm ratchet, but I'm really safe. Hot sauce dripping. Everybody wanna start dipping. First nobody wanna listen. Now everybody pay attention. Now everybody pay a fee. Even Trump gotta take a knee. When the horn blow, y'all gon' see. Make the wall fall down like yee. I don't do the most, but I do a lot. I'ma make a toast, cause we still alive. No big, I feel like Pac. I shoot the shot. I'm coming in hot. Coming in hot, coming in hot. Shoot that shot, shoot that shot. Shoot, why not? Hey, why not? Ain't no big, ain't no big. Feel like Pac, feeling like Pac. We can't lose, we can't stop, we can't stop. Yeah, coming in hot. Coming in hot. Coming in hot. Coming in hot. Shoot that shot. Hey, why not? Hey, why not? Hey, watch out. Coming in hot.
Because we coming in hot. That's Lecrae. That fire-ass song. Yeah, we definitely coming in hot. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Underground Flavas is in the house this morning. Hope everyone is doing fine. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning out there. Definitely get up, get out. No wind, no freezing rain, snow. It's a beautiful thing. So definitely want to be grateful for this beautiful morning that we have going on today to be able to live, because we have been freezing forever. And so thank you to everyone who has reached out and has been a part of Underground Flavas and is able to give me some feedback, and has been very important as far as helping people that are going through evictions. And so today people are supposed to be coming in. I got people zooming in, so hopefully they can figure it out, because I'm live now. So today, of course, we got Miss Redhawk. She gonna have something to say over the day of her spiritual healing, I should say. Good morning, Miss Redhawk.
Good morning.
How are you, beautiful lady?
I am fine, fine, fine. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So yes, we have other people supposed to be joining in today that are running behind like last week. So I'm just giving them a minute to get in and see how they doing this morning. So go ahead and bless us with the spiritual Redhawk blessing while we wait on them to zoom in and come in.
Well, all right. Well, you know what we always do? We put our hands up in the air. We wave them like we just don't care. We got to let the negative energy know it got to go. All right. We're going to take 3 deep breaths before and 3 deep breaths after the affirmation. We know that we breathe in through our nose and blow out through our mouths. On the count of 3, let's take our first 3 deep breaths. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait a minute. Spirit said you forgot to have them dump. I'm sorry, y'all. Maybe y'all went through some stuff this past week. I know I did. So looking very forward to blowing that ish out. We're gonna stand in front of our little imaginary dumpster. Some of us have bigger dumpsters than others, but we're gonna stand in front of these dumpsters and we're gonna throw all of last week, all of last year, all of last century away into this dumpster. I'm going to give us about 3 seconds and then we're going to do the breathing exercise. So let's go 3 seconds. Throw everything away. All right. All right, let's take our first 3 deep breaths. Breathe in and blow out. Breathe in and blow out. Again, breathe in and blow out. Repeat after me. Universe.
Universe.
I am ready to be made whole again.
I am ready to be made whole again.
Universe.
Universe.
I consciously open myself to release.
I consciously open myself to release.
Universe.
Universe.
Today I become reborn.
Today I become reborn.
Today I redirect my thoughts.
Today I redirect my thoughts,
My energies.
my energy,
My everything.
my everything
Onto a progressive,
onto a progressive,
positive path.
positive path.
I release all negative feelings
I release all negative feelings
associated with every negative situation
associated with every negative situation
that I have encountered in this life,
that I have encountered in this life,
in that life,
in that life,
in that other life.
in that other life.
Give it all back to you.
I give it all back to you.
I call into existence
I call into existence
peace,
peace,
joy,
joy,
love,
love,
trust,
trust,
respect,
respect,
honor,
honor,
courage,
courage,
confidence,
confidence,
compassion,
compassion,
support,
support,
strength,
strength,
patience,
patience,
protection,
protection,
guidance,
guidance,
understanding,
understanding,
forgiveness,
forgiveness,
emotional,
emotional,
mental,
mental,
spiritual,
spiritual,
and physical healing,
and physical healing,
abundance
abundance
in every area of my life,
in every area of my life,
and a clear thought process.
and a clear thought process.
I thank you in advance
I thank you in advance
for recognizing all of my needs
for recognizing all of my needs
and taking me on this new journey,
and taking me on this new journey,
one which I deserve
one which I deserve
and I am ready for.
and I am ready for.
And so it shall be.
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 And we're going to bring it to the right now, because we know in the spiritual realm, all we have is right here and right now. And so we say, and so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
So it is.
And so it is.
We're going to take our 3 final breaths. This time, before we blow them out, we're going to imagine ourselves mighty winds blowing away all of our cares, our concerns, our worries, our fears, our disappointments, our heartaches, our heartbreaks, the stresses, our exes. We're going to blow all of that unwanted, unneeded, unnecessary energy away. On the count of 3, I want you to breathe in and blow out like you've never breathed in or blown out before. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Breathe in and blow out. Again, breathe in and blow out. One final time, breathe in and blow out.
Thank you. Thank you for the spiritual cleanse. And how do people find you?
Well, they can find me all over the internet by Googling Straight Talk with Redhawk. But if you want to send me a note, you can do that at finallytheredhawk@gmail.com. That's finallytheredhawk@gmail.com.
And so that's a beautiful Miss Redhawk giving the spiritual blessings of today. And that's a beautiful thing to actually hear a spiritual blessing, because many people need it. Today's topic is called A Public Outcry, a River of Tears. In the last couple of weeks, I have received so many phone calls specifically related to evictions. But it goes beyond evictions. I've met mothers who's had their kids taken recently. I've have people calling from, North Carolina who's went through things. I have people calling from Texas, Illinois, all over from different states of people crying. And that's why I call this a public outcry and a river of tears. In many times in people's lives, so many things has happened to them that it's even hard to articulate. And hearing so many people go through so many different things that never received relief is absolutely heartbreaking. Because in reality, that's really our history. That's really what we go through in everyday life, but they just never got solved. In reality, most people live what? 40, 60, 80 years old? Is that how long the life expectancy is supposed to be? And if it takes you 18 years to actually grow up to become mature, well, you really don't even count that. So really your life shrinks that much greater because it takes so long to be able to elevate to even being grown. So with that being said, when so many people are going through so many different things in life, they only have that window of life to be able to do something about it. So if you only grow to be or live to be 40, for example, in reality, you only had 22 years or so to really figure adulthood life out. And so for so many people that are going through so many things, in that 22 years, if you were fighting the system and having to defend yourself and do so many different things, then that would deter what your life was really supposed to be. And in reality, there's only 3 ways to be able to get something accomplished in reality. So make 4, let me say 4. So the first one would be actually addressing the person or entity that you have the conflict with. That would be the first one. The second one is the fact that you file a petition or you file a complaint with another entity. That's the second one. The third one comes into play when you normally go to the media. And the fourth one would be your legislators. Those will be the key factors of how you will get a complaint resolved. So with that being said, so many people have went through all those different steps and they never got any relief. So out in these communities, there's so many people that are suffering and in pain. Why is it, if everybody knows and understands our history, that they have never gotten any relief? Right? I mean, because that's what we talk about in everyday society. And that's a factor of our history, a factor of our futures that still keeps being crammed into this small portion of life that we just can't get out. We just can't pop the bubble. We just can't go beyond ourselves to make things happen. Why? When if you understand those 4 avenues are all you have to make it happen. Either the person themselves, whoever you're conflicting with, either they solve it and do the right thing. B, you file a court hearing. The court solves it. They do the right thing. You go to your legislators and the people, and they actually do their part and they do the right thing. Or you go into media and they have come around you and put your case out there. I see Mr. Chris Collins has zoomed in. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
And so with that being said, those are the very factors of life that we have to go through to get things done. So this week's show is going to be real thin because like I said, I've been working on defenses, evictions, and a little bit about myself as well. Because I've been swollen for 6 weeks, ridiculously swollen, that nobody can explain, etc. That has really, that affects me deeply. And so if I can't go out and run or just can't do the things I like to do as an individual, then that impacts me as far as who I am as a person. And I think that's the reality of most people. When life impacts you, let's say you move into a house and it doesn't serve you for the amount of money that you're expected to pay, that impacts you. Let's say you have water, you have sewage in the basement, you have mold growing, you have all these different things. That's impacting you. So on top of the rent payments being asked for, you're also being impacted of the fact of the conditions of what you're going through while being there. So all that, and just think you only lived to be 40. So you had 22 years. And now that didn't happen in 22. But I'm saying if that's a portion of the 22 years, what did your life accumulate to be? So last week's show, I had a lady on here, an elderly lady, that had her money taken out of her account and going through all the proper steps of notifying the property managers, notifying the financial institutions, notifying all these different people saying, hey, this is what happened to me. And so I can say that we are grateful that one of the aldermen of her ward did reach out. But now there's a follow-up process to that hasn't occurred yet. So with that being said, I'm very grateful to the people who stayed on task with helping her, that came on board, that, made phone calls, did all the things that really needed to be done so people could know and understand what she was going through. She's 78 years old. So for the people who make it to that level of life, to know that they are still fighting, and they're fighting because money was extracted out of their account, excess money, is mind-boggling. How many grandparents is out there? How many people is out there, young or old, having extra money taken out of their accounts or being overcharged? We could use rent, for example. How many people are paying rent for properties that are below a standard to receive rent, but yet it's still happening every day? It's all over the communities. And so that is the public outcry, this river of tears. When you have so many people out there crying about the same thing, imagine their tears coming together and forming an actual physical river. So do any of you go out, go to the rivers, go to the water? Imagine that being human tears that you're playing around in. Just imagine. Would you still want to get in that water, knowing people have cried that much in pain? That's a personal decision. I don't know. That would be up to you to decide. For me, I wouldn't want to get in the water knowing that those are all people's tears. That would bother me. But for some reason in society, no one seems bothered about all the tears that flow every day. Tears that could be wiped away. Tears that don't even have to form again, but they still stream for many, many people, just like the rivers that exist today. So understanding and thinking about all these different people, a mother who was shot, and then she tells me she was shot a few years ago. And then she tells me her story how recently she just had her kids taken away. The pain that was surrounding that was overwhelming. Any thoughts, Chris or Trish?
I know what she's going through, what we talked about last week, and the letters and stuff that was written. I didn't get a chance to finish my letter, but I did start one. I was really inspired by yours. I just got extremely busy and caught up this week, and I wasn't able to do it. But these people do need help, and it's unfair what is going on. But the beautiful thing is we can do some policy changes and get some things to move in the right direction by making these actions. So everybody that did make those phone calls last week and write those letters, I know that they're making a difference. But I know that lady felt like she was. She's not, because
And if you could turn your microphone up just a little bit, Chris, you're a little low.
Okay, that's probably me not talking directly into it. Is that better?
A little bit more volume. Use your outside door voice.
I can do that. I know that I'm blessed to be here, just so I can try to be an activist for voice. And there's going to be some change happen, but what can everyone do by stepping up and doing something tomorrow or today?
You got a little loud there in the middle of your speech. I don't know what you did, but you got a little bit louder and then you got low again.
It's probably my internet connection.
There you go. I can hear you right there.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's probably my internet connection going in and out. Right where I'm at, I've got a little dead spot, so I probably should move to another part of the house.
And yes, and always remember your outside voice. You know, when you project it, it'll make it much louder.
I understand that. I can most definitely try to talk up and act like I want to get somebody's attention from across the yard. I know this platform is exploding. It is doing some change, what it takes is for the people that do hear this message is tomorrow be part of the change. Be about it. Speak up for others that don't have that voice because we all have it. We just need to do it together. And I'm going to go ahead and lay the floor back to you for a moment.
I mean, so what you said, of all of us working together. So I believe in a threefold system. It's biblical. It works. It's just what I believe. That's what I crafted my work from. So right there, if I say that in a group of people, this is biblically crafted, I've lost people in the room just because I said biblically. They don't hear about tenants. They don't hear about anything. But once I establish that this was the boundary of how I developed it, if I lose you right there, you really didn't come for the tenants. And so with that being said, back to the three-pronged system, it's a seed, a branch, and a leaf. If you have been around me any given time, you will hear me talk about that emphatically. Why? Because that is what I go by. 3 steps: a seed, a branch, and a leaf. So in the elderly lady's situation, her seed was the landlords took extra money out of my account. The branch becomes dealing with the process of what happened to the money that got taken out of the account. And the leaf would be her refund. Real simple. The seed is, why are you complaining? What is your issue? The branch is the process of what it takes to grow. And the leaf is the production that was received from the seed, from the process. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
So in that 3 steps, you identify in number 1, your steps are number 2, and number 3 is what you want to get out of it. Real simple. Miss Trisha, you got a phone call? Are you free now? I take it that's a no. All right. She sent me. Oh, go for it.
Here I am. I'm so sorry. I was going to say, you have taken on quite the task, and you make it look so simple. You make it look so simple, and I know it's not. And that whole thing about the river of tears, oh my, that hit me. I mean, I'm a visual person. I can, those words, when I saw those words turn into a picture in my mind, that was overwhelming. So I just want to say, I thank God that they have somebody as determined as you, because you really fighting for them as well as yourself. And I just want to take off my wig and tip it to you for just, you just doing an awesome job. I just want to say, if nobody tells you that enough, I just want to say it a million times. You're doing quite the job. Quite the job.
I thank you. I appreciate that. And it is hard to be out here. And in honesty, I really didn't take this on. It took me on, as with most people. Like the elderly lady, she got taken on. She's not trying to take on the property owners. She got taken upon, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
It does.
And a lot of people, that's really the seed, that they weren't trying to get in an encounter with the police, or they weren't trying to get an eviction, or they weren't trying to get into a fight. They were just trying to get out from what has become over them. And for me, that's one of my big distinctions in life. If you cause something and you're complaining about it, what am I supposed to do for you? You caused it. Versus someone that has something come upon them that they can't get out of. That's different. That's way different. But if we allow media and the public to always boil everybody down into this one group, now the people who didn't cause it is buried under the people who did cause it. And everybody's looking at the people who did cause it like that's your own fault. You fix it. You this, you that.
On your own.
On your own, which would be appropriate if they caused it.
Even if they, and even if doing it on your own, you don't have all the information that you need. People aren't all educated with what is right and what's wrong, or what's the rights they have and what's the rights that the landlord has. The difference is if your house ain't up to standard, landlord don't really have any rights. And we need to be able to stand up as a community and say, we're not going to have this. This is substandard living for my fellow human being that needs to be treated with respect. And I think it would do the world a great good to actually figure out that we all have a purpose on life. And it ain't here just to suck air and cause problems for people and worry about what caused them to get in the problem that they're in. It's the solution of figuring out what's going to get them out of that problem, move them forward in life, and stop these problems from happening. Because that happened to that woman because of a new portal system or whatever way that the man's trying to get the money. They wind up taking more money from this lady, and it hurts her totally financially because she's trying to live on a subsidized income that she has to budget. If she don't budget it correctly, and if they mess with her budget, her life goes into turmoil. And once it's there, nobody really cares about how the story was that you got there. Just like you said, it was your fault, and then you're on your own trying to figure it out. Well, this is where we now have taken on this problem that you were fighting tooth and nail to get people to listen, and I most definitely have listened, trying to be part and trying to do something, be something about that difference, not just sit here and talk about it.
And you're correct. Her finances were devastated. Checks bounced. I was with her at one point where a transaction failed. So literally, I watched it with my own two eyes. The financial burden, what this elderly lady went through because these people had took out all this money. And that's with so many people. It will devastate you. And that's what many people are complaining about. How somebody took a house, how somebody took money, how somebody did this, how somebody did that. It's all the seed.
Yes, it is. And that's time to plant these seeds, watch the branches, and create these leaves, the result, the end result. And, it'll be a beautiful harvest because there's got to be fruit coming from that.
Now you see my point of why I utilize that analogy, because it really does fit what we going through. You got to plant a seed. There's a process you got to go through. You got to go out and tend to the yard. You got to go out, pull the all the bad stuff from around it, the weeds and everything that's tearing it apart. You got to make sure you ain't got rodents and bugs and eating off of it, deer eating off of it. Like, you got all these different factors that you got to fight off through the process that's beyond the seed of what you planted to produce good fruit. There ain't no getting around it.
Well, the one way of making it easier is all of us become them shepherds and those tendings that we go out into the garden and we create the harvest. But we have to work together. That's where you bring unity into your community, giving an equal opportunity. And that's education, opportunity, jobs, life. People work hard, and here the lady was at 78 years old, and she worked hard in her life to have the living that she has. But back in the day, when she was making that dollar, it ain't worth 10 cents today. So the money she's getting paid, she's not getting the interest that it had grown and what it really became. She's just getting back what she had put in. And to cause her problems now in life, it's disgusting.
And she's a vet. She served our country.
Oh, that just comes to prove the point that 700,000 veterans are homeless.
Exactly. So now you hit on something, Chris, right there. Now you hit on the theme of the seeds.
And that's being homeless.
Of being homeless. See, that's a theme. How many people could say they're vets? They've served their country, and now they're going through homelessness or being evicted.
Here's one on top of that. There's more children. There's 1.75 million children that are homeless that do not have a home tonight. But they could, because there is a solution. We all have to just come together, work for one common goal, and that's fix all of these planting problems that we have, because we wind up sticking them in a pot and somebody ain't over there tending to it and making sure anything's happening. It just gets left alone. We need to have somebody, hey, man, they see it, they look at it. It was the same way when I taught people how to drywall. You know, if they were running screws, they needed to understand, just because you're new to this job and you're running screws, and that's what you're doing, is just coating the screws, you have the most important job in this room, because you're covering 48 square feet of wall on each sheet, where I'm only working on this 15 feet, this 20 feet. So I'm working on this 20 feet of it, and you're working on 48 square feet of it. But you're the uneducated one. And we put them in those situations because if we can get them to do that part there and do it correctly, they can move forward and see these other steps that I'm working on that are a little more difficult.
You just hit another nail on the head. A lot of times people do not understand their value or importance. They don't. And a lot of times it's boiled down to something that sounds really, really petty. Like a bolt, for example, or a screw. That sounds really petty in life. A bolt, a screw. Let one of them bolts come off a tire while you're driving down the road. We'll see how petty it is after that.
That's correct.
Let a screw come out from a table. We'll see how petty it is after that. So sometimes things are so petty, it's important. But a lot of times in society, these petty things are really dismissed as being petty. Oh, no.
That's the foundation.
That's the foundation. And if you dismiss it as being petty, then it's unimportant. And that's what we've done to so many things. We've just dismissed them as if it's petty.
That's why it's crumbling. Because if you don't have a good foundation, it will fall. And that's why we now can do something, because we are educated enough. There's enough educated people to educate the other ones to realize we are the government. Stop thinking because we voted that person in that they're making those decisions for us and the legislature they pass, that's what's going to happen. No, we can tell them what to do. And if they don't do it, we tell them don't come back to work. And that's a fact. We don't have to vote them out. They have to do what we say. And we don't have to do what they say. The difference is we're asking for permission to let us give ourselves an opportunity and a community. But the key thing there is unity. Giving us all something in common Just because you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth doesn't give you the entitlement to think you're better than someone else. If you were born poor, you don't need to know that you ain't as good as this other person. You are. And your value is unlimited. Your limit is how limited you want it to be. I want you to dream. I want you to know that your dreams will come true because they're all part of reality today. If people didn't dream, we wouldn't have what we have today, and I wouldn't be on this phone talking on this radio station.
With people going through so much in life, and I talked about the three main areas earlier. I don't know if you were a part of the show when I talked about you settle it with the actual person or entity. Number 2, you might file a court petition. Number 3, you would go to your legislators. And number 4, you would go to media. Would you agree that those are pretty much the 4 formal ways that you would solve any problem?
Yes, most definitely. And social media is better media than any other media because it's your words talking to someone else and continuing the message. And that's why we're on here. We're doing a social media thing because we're reaching the masses with us speaking over the airwaves. And I love it because it's something that is being recorded, they can listen to later. And if everybody shared that message and heard what we're saying and become part of it tomorrow, we will have a whole entire different outlook of what the future is going to be by just looking forward to those 4 things that you laid out. Yes, say something to each one of these things. Tell them, we want this fixed. This is the way we can fix it. How can you help us get this done? And
well, go ahead.
Right. No. That's, to me, that's moving. That's how you do the steps. I mean, I agree with your 4 steps there. I do agree that the media would be the last resort as far as action, because the letters, the calls that you make and call in to your senators, congressmen, your governors, your mayors, and your city councilmen, your aldermen, when you make these calls and these letters, they are action. And there's going to be a reaction. And those are the key things. So getting it to the media, that gets breaking news. We need positive news on our news, not just everything negative going on, but positive action of what's going and how to fix it.
So with those 4 steps that I discussed, haven't we done those 4 steps over and over and over again?
We have, but we've done it individually. We're not doing it unitedly. And if we all went and stood at their steps and they go to show up at work, they have to answer. If not, don't go in. You don't work for us no more. That's the difference. And I had our congressmen, our senators, our mayors, all of them told me this. They were like, if I don't do what you say, y'all vote me out. Y'all vote me gone. I'm out the door. I got to make you happy. The difference is if you get involved and do something, be about something, stand up for something that's bigger than you, it will all affect you and what's going to become of your family and your grandchildren and everything else. By standing up and actually doing it together, not trying to fight it individually. We do fight these fights every day individually. That's why we have the problems we have. That's why we're on this call trying to unite and come together with so many different aspects and reasons to do these positive seeds. And when we reach them individually, we can be impactful, but we're not changing the world because we need the world to be the change.
And with that being said, so we've seen all the rioting, we've seen all the people out in the streets, we've seen all this. We've seen You know how people come together after George Floyd. But what about people who went through it before George Floyd? I don't see really any mentioning. I take that back. Let me recant that. I did just read one article where they did go back and talk to other people who had encounters with the officer. I take that back. However, that was one officer. I'm not seeing it being done across the country in a very organized, systematic way. What I see, I don't know if y'all agree, but what I see is another way of how to ignore problems that are already documented. We already know they exist. We already know that they're real. But for some reason, people still just can't get out of it. So in my world and mind, that would take me to another understanding. So if I understand that the 4 steps of trying to do it individually, going to the media, going through the courts, and going through legislation, and they fail you, there's got to be another initiative to open the door. Or those 4 avenues have to change to open the door.
And that's how they come about change, is we all speak up. We all have a voice. And if you do it on a letter, if you do it verbally, if you do it by standing in action for something, this is in no rioting and none of that. That's not positive. That's hurting your local community, because your local community, those local businesses, are your support system for all your affordable housing, for everything that's going on in your community. Those local businesses are the ones doing it. And when people come in and demonstrate and they do it in a negative way, that stops us individuals from being able to do something by ourselves. And that's where, if we come together in a positive thing, doing purpose, positive purpose, not negative, not telling them what they did wrong yesterday. Let's tell them what they can do right tomorrow. Let's stop talking about what happened in the past and push for a new tomorrow. That will make a difference, and it'll make a difference tomorrow.
So if people don't have the resources and the understanding, so let's just say out there, people don't have the 3-step, the 3-step approach like I simply explained. What if they don't have that? Because that's really the problem. I feel, let me recant that. I see and understand that most people do not have a plan. They don't even have an understanding of what they're doing to be able to boil it down to make it simple to easily say. Without those steps of actually trying to learn and understand how to articulate to where it isn't so overwhelming, that's a problem within itself.
It most definitely is. People get overwhelmed real easy. And they're also trying to do it without communication. If every person in St. Louis would make a phone call tomorrow to 5 people that they haven't talked to in years, and just send a text, if nothing else, and say, how you doing? Haven't heard from you. I'm wondering, how are you? We will see a difference in every person in St. Louis, because they're going to get a response back that those people that they reached out to needed that. And all of us need this. We all need to be able to communicate together and stop trying to fight this war on our own. I've been trying to fight a huge war on my own, so I do know about it.
Yes, and of course. And so when I say reach out, I'm going to keep it back to those 4 avenues of what people will go through to get something resolved. Because really, that's the whole nutshell of getting a resolution. There's 4 ways So if people are willing to ask the individual, if they're willing to ask the courts, if they're willing to ask legislation, and if they're willing to ask media, very specific questions, we wouldn't even be in this chaos anymore. Why? Because there's already an understanding of history already laid out. So what's the runaround? Or is the runaround because people are not hearing clear steps of how to proceed? See, in those 4 avenues right there, you don't cracked it on every level. You have just cracked it. You got the individual, you got the court system, you have the media, and you have the politicians. That's really our echelon in life anyway. So if we looked at those 4 tiers and went through it, we could really get somewhere. So like the elderly lady, for example, she ain't been to court, which is great, and we want to keep her out. She's already been to the individual. She's at the level of legislation, and she's been here with media. So the idea is those steps right there is a foundation laid out for her. If she was taken to court, what would the argument be? Hopefully it will be the seed. Excess money was taken out.
Yes, I agree. And, her case, I believe, will be a slam dunk win if it went to court, without a doubt. And she should be able to get some kind of repercussion of what it cost her by the overdraft fees and stuff that had occurred. Because those things can multiply so fast. And when people are out here living paycheck to paycheck, there's no way, when you're barely surviving now, for you to have something devastating happen like this on what it's going to take for you to get back.
So here's the thing. I'm going to go back to what you said. You said it should be an easy slam dunk win. How many people has went to court with a case that they should have won and they lost?
Oh, a lot.
A lot. So I'm throwing that in there because that's really the point back to those 4 avenues in the river of tears. They did go to court. They did go to the individual. They did go to media, like Chantel Davis's case. She went through all the tiers, minus us going to the alderman, but they ended up coming on her case when it became publicity, and she still did not get anything. See, right there, that's the focus right there. They are going through the avenues. There's only 4. And people are still losing when they should have won easily. And we allow these judgments to come out. We don't blink an eye. Oh, that's the judge. Who cares? Did you hear the seed?
You are right.
But we don't do anything. If everybody stayed on those 4 avenues, right there you could solve for anybody's problems because they all are going to fit right in those 4 tiers. So the elderly lady, for example, we don't want her in court. We will want them to do the right thing and leave her there. Why should a 78-year-old lady be drugged through the court process and she was the one that had her money taken out? She's 78. I want to keep everybody in mind. Every time we go through these bouts with the property manager, she's down for another 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks for her to recover her energy, her sanity, to come back up to, want to fight again. She's 78.
The sad thing is she shouldn't have to fight at all. We have problems in every aspect of what's been created, but it's all come down to who was profiting out of it, and that goes all the way down to the nonprofits. If their agenda isn't to get this people to never come back to their door, then they're not working at that agenda correctly.
Bam. Whoa. There it is. In a nutshell. Right there. So right there, then we can see where the problem lies at. We're not getting what we need. Hence the public outcry in this river of tears. Many people shouldn't go through what they go through. It shouldn't even be allowed that a 20-year-old, 22-year-old, someone who does not have kids can walk into a person's house with kids and can write something to have their kids taken. That's cuckoo. They don't even have the experience of being a parent themselves, but they can write something on a piece of paper. We don't bat an eye to the lack of experience of someone telling someone with kids what they should and should not do. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, makes 100% sense. And the other part is, we need to embrace our 8-year-olds now. And when they turn 18, they're going to know that they were the solution. Now, they're going to affect every person on earth when they do this. But they're going to know that the 8-year-olds that are going to be 8 when they're 18 are never going to know there was a homeless problem.
Well, you must be talking like in 2050 if we get it solved now. Because I don't know too many 8-year-olds, unless they're in like affluent areas and they never come out, is not going to see a homeless person. Homelessness is rampant. Even in small communities, homeless rate has skyrocketed. So
Right.
in reality, these kids are seeing it right now. They just don't understand it.
No, they see it. The 8-year-olds right now see it, okay? And they're going to see it. But when they're 18, in 10 years from now, we would not have a homeless problem. And that's just embracing our children. But giving those 8-year-olds the opportunity, and every child above them the opportunity, to do something positive in their community every day. Eat hot food. Make sure no one's hungry. No one. If you're hungry, show up. If you just show up over here at this address, and if you're hungry, food will show up to that address. But if you showed up and did something positive in your community every day after school, those kids would earn a home, have a job, $20 plus an hour, and never pay rent and never be thrown out. That's a fact. That's today without changing another piece of legislature. That's just us moving tomorrow.
So with that being said, that's another program. And I feel what you're saying, but I'm going to get it back to, we're talking about these 4 avenues. So children in this conversation really doesn't fit. This would be an adult person that went to the housing authority or went somewhere. So they would be adults. And so we're talking about the avenues of where they would go to get relief and they don't. Like, I hear you, but I'm really trying to keep it focused to the public outcry and the river of tears of the people that we're talking about that is entrapped, like the elderly lady.
Yes. Yeah, and I went off track there for a second.
It's all good. And at least you were honest to just say, hey, I went off track. And in reality, that's what we see every day, is things are just completely taken off track because the homeless rate is skyrocketing every day. So for all these entities and organizations saying they're here to fight it, why is it still growing?
Because they are not working to make sure that person don't come back through that door. And that's because each of them get a paycheck. All right? I have a 501c3 and I don't get a paycheck. I ain't never got a paycheck from it. I've done nothing but go out and work and earn money so I could spend money to try to push it forward. But at the same time, when I do help somebody, they're not calling me back asking me for help again because I changed what was going on with their life. And if you work for that change, that's when it will make a difference, and hopefully they won't have the problem again. But when you have an entity that takes money from a lady and causes her a problem, and then don't want to stand up and fix the problem, and they want to create more and cause legal problems, and if the lady needed a lawyer to try to fight it, or she goes in there and stands by herself without the knowledge. We don't need her representing herself, but at the same time, they might not give her a lawyer because it's a civil case.
They're not going to give her a lawyer because it's a civil case. You're correct. In state courts, you don't get a lawyer in civil cases. That's only federal court. And the reality is that's where the Chantel Davis model comes in at. Because I did bring legal services to her. I took them and drove them down to Art City Defenders. I brought the attorneys onto their case. And what does she say? She never got any money from that judgment. So the reality is what you originally said about people are being paid and profiting off of our pain. That's really the crux of the whole situation. And that goes back into those 4 tiers that I discussed about going to the court system. And if the court system or whoever's playing a part of it does not do right by you, you are entrapped because of that. So with the elderly lady, do I want her to go to court? Of course not. She shouldn't have to. Do I want her caught up in that system of waiting? Because what if the court acts like they didn't read or hear that the property owners took excess money? What if they do, as many courts do, ask, oh, you didn't pay the rent? You didn't pay the rent? Because they're ignoring the property was condemned. The property had no heat. The property had no occupancy permit. The property this, the property that. Once all that's ignored, then they write a judgment as if you're the failure and now you got to pay. Isn't that what we keep talking about over and over again in some form or fashion?
Yes, it is. It happened to me.
It happened to me. It happens all over. But nobody is addressing these 4 tiers the way that it should be. If everybody went back and addressed who your complaint was with, that's 1 tier. Did you go to court? The lawyers associated? That's another tier. Did you go to your legislators? Did you go to your politicians? That's another tier. Did you go to the media? Did they deny you? Did they put you on the air and never come back to you? That's another tier. So you've hit all these tiers in one nutshell for everybody. It's real simple process to understand. So if I say to people, hey, I did bring in legal services. I did bring in all these attorneys. Whose case am I going to refer to? Chantel Davis's case. Because after that, I really didn't care for him no more. Once I saw how my people got treated.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So that's where it boils down to, is having a good seed to be able to teach and lead. Most people don't have a good seed. They have a good argument, but they don't have a good seed.
And structure and good potting soil.
Yeah.
Everything about it that needs to be right. And that's basically the community. The potting soil is the community. When you plant a seed in that community, it should grow.
It should. Only if the community knows how to farm. But that's what you said in the beginning. Not everybody has the knowledge or the resources. So if we're planting these seeds, but nobody knows how to farm, that's another problem. Well, hello there. Come on in and sit on down. Our guests are in the house, in the building. Grab a microphone. Sit anywhere you want in front of a microphone. And so we have guests that's going to talk about what they went through in their lives. And so it's not just me. And so real quick of an introduction. If everybody's smelling all yummalicious up in here. You know, we have tenants in the city of St. Louis, you know, that has went through things in their own properties. And so I haven't went on Facebook and tagged people and done all that as far as the older people who contacted me and the other organizations, because I'm going to leave it be. I'd rather for nobody to know who they are right now. And hopefully we can move this through versus tagging them and being a part of my social media network and everybody going, ooh, and just coming around them to choke them out again. Right. So it's been a lot going on. I'm sorry, Chris, what you say?
That's where the hold comes on, is people looking at something negative. And, you know, we don't want people's anonymity necessarily out there. We just want solutions. We don't need fingers pointed.
Yes, and correct. So I'm going to introduce my guests that have come in the building. We have Miss Rosa.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rosa McGee. I was on one of her podcasts once before. I'm a business owner, but I'm one of the people that's being affected by this cause right now.
And we have her lovely boo.
Hello, my name is Ricky Randall, and I'm just here for support.
And then we have Mr. Nate Taylor in the house.
How y'all doing out there?
Good.
I've been affected by this by Miss Henrietta Taylor. And some things I want to say about her is she's a slumlord. She don't fix up nothing. She don't do things the right way. And she always hounding everybody for money. You know.
Believe it or not, guys, this was my neighbor for about a year almost.
She had us living in a room, supposed to be a rooming house. Didn't have no occupancy permit.
She had an occupancy permit. Let's state what it really was. Occupancy permit was for a single family dwelling, a Section 8 dwelling at that. And if you clearly pull up into the front of the house, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can visually see that it has 2 front doors, 2 separate mailboxes, and more than one entrance to this building that lets you know that it's 2 separate floors. So it considered as a duplex, but she didn't even have the decency to even renew the occupancy that she had in place. And that's been in place since 1993. It expired in April of 2020, and we both were living on the same floor, sharing the same bathroom for almost a year.
In the same kitchen.
In the same kitchen, yeah.
You know, where she never fixed the bathroom, where she never fixed the toilet the right way, always nigger rigging it.
Oh, and not to mention, we had a heating box, remember? Remember the box, Nate?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a lock box over the thermostat. So we couldn't control the heat or lights or anything.
That's right. She would give us heaters that really wasn't no good. Kept the temperature at 65. I'm a skinny man. I like heat. So I want the heat on so I can feel the heat. You know. She also is my cousin, blood relative. And if she gonna do me like that, I just imagine what she's doing to other people. Like
we know what she's doing. She's doing it to me.
You know, it doesn't make a sense to me that you can sit up here and get down there $3,000 a month for this building. You can't fix up nothing, but you can go out of town every week to see your daughter and her newborn baby.
I don't know about the newborn baby situation, but what I do know is I've noticed that she's been out of town several times. You come up with a brand new truck, but you call me and text me and say, hey, these bills getting high. I have several text messages asking you, can you take the utilities out your name? I can get utilities in my own name. That'll take off some of the costs. If you take out both of these refrigerators, because you have 4 refrigerators in one building. Oh, wait, not to mention you have a hot plate running in the basement. Because it's a person that lives in the basement, too. So that was 5 families in one building in a duplex, and it was only zoned to be what? A single-family home.
Now, y'all have, so I welcome my guests that have come in today, because the topic of this show was called A Public Outcry and the River of Tears. And so many people, tears are running, streaming down their faces of the same thing of what these people are talking about here today. And it's on another block and over another block and then 5 blocks down there and 8 blocks over there and 12 blocks over there because it's happening all over. So these are the type of situations that we already know through history and through even today. It's happening today. There are 4 tiers that most people in the public will go to. First, you're going to go to the individual. Yep. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
The second one is you normally file a petition and you run to the courts.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Your third one is that you have to call legislators and leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your politicians.
Mm-hmm.
And then your fourth one is media.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's 4 avenues that the public has. 4 primarily. That's it. That's all. So with that being said, do you think the media doesn't have any clue about these houses existing of what you just described?
Clearly they don't, because she's evicted. If you look on her case net, just Google her just because. She did this in 2018. Then she has a pattern. 2 years before that, she evicted about 7 to 8 people. This is a pattern for this lady. I've Googled her. So, and if you Google her, she has a bed and breakfast that she, sells to her $250 a night, upscale clientele, but it's a regular home because she lives in the basement. But I don't understand that. You can give $250 a night for basic rooms. Here it is. I pay you $800 a month. You don't want my money. You told me you want me gone. You don't want to renew my lease.
Oh, we're not bad tenants.
We're not bad tenants at all.
Oh,
We pay our bills.
You pay your.
You just don't want our money
It's not
because
about the
I
money.
asked you to take the heat out your name. I asked you to remove these refrigerators. Can you turn the heat up?
Could
You
fix
cannot
it?
walk in here when you want to. What reason are you coming to do this monthly inspection? Because you had me to sign this lease saying that you want to see the upkeep. Are you coming to do repairs? I have these in text messages, and now the next thing I know, I got a lawyer, on her behalf, that stated a certified letter and a regular letter stating that she is writing on behalf of Henrietta Taylor to tell me I have to vacate the premises by January 31st. That was the first letter I got right after she got paid. The ink on the check hadn't even dried. She hadn't even had the check 5 whole days. And all of a sudden, I have to leave. She gave me a 30-day notice handwritten first.
Yeah.
Then the agency paid her. Then the text message come right after that saying, oh, well, let's gear up to get you paid for December. Okay, well, let's try another agency to see if they'll help me. Because right now, I just scraped up all of what I had.
And the way she did me was, I had an agency paying my rent, paid it all the way up. She told me I had to go because it wasn't it couldn't be classified as a rooming house anymore. Told everybody she had somewhere for me to go. I had to end up finding my own place to go. And she still kept $1,000.
But that's funny. You said it was classified as a rooming house. When was that ever classified as a rooming house?
That's what she told me it was. A rooming house.
She told me bed and breakfast.
She told me it was a rooming house.
She told me it was one of her permanent bed and breakfast spots to where you can live there and pay monthly instead of by night.
So now we're talking about where these people would go for assistance. And if they're telling you that they went to places that actually paid the rent, let it sink in. So when I talk about how slumlords are getting paid from all these nonprofits, I'm not making that up. Actually,
No,
I'm learning it through all these different court cases. And I want to say that right here. A lot of things that I say was because I learned it from the tenants. So I got a question this morning about being fair. And the question was, how do I know as a tenants' rights advocate I'm being fair to the landlord of the property? That was the question. My response, I'm going to give now, and hopefully the person's watching. If a tenant calls me, your complaint about the heat, was what?
Oh, can you turn the heat up or take the lockbox off of it so that I can at least turn it up when it needs to be and I can adjust it when it needs to be so that it wouldn't,
Be cold.
make her bill go up so that the house heat would actually kick on instead of having to use heaters and extension cords and running her bill up because that's actually what runs her bill up. I never got a response on that.
In the heater box, right, you can't turn it up or down.
It's locked.
It's locked. So the question was...
Once upon a time,
And
it had
and
aluminum foil
once upon a
over it.
time, before she got it fixed, it had aluminum foil over it. So I didn't even know what the temperature was. We, meaning me and Nate, couldn't tell you what it was. Mr. Craig, that's his name in the basement, turned it off from the furnace. So she never turned it off. She's never been in that unit in almost a year. So now all of a sudden you want to make it monthly to come back, but you've never been in my personal room when it was my roaming space, but you've been on the floor. Meaning so you walk in whenever you got ready. I would come out the bathroom or stand in the kitchen and she'll be standing right there next to the refrigerator.
So to answer that question, when the tenant calls me and says, I'm running space heaters, the house isn't efficiently heating, I can't control my thermostat. For me as a tenants' rights advocate, I don't need to talk to the landlord. What I have to do is go over to the property and be in the property, which most people don't do. Most entities are not going in and actually physically investigating what the tenant's complaint is.
Exactly.
They give a phone number and a website and tell them to go there.
Yep.
So the first step, I physically actually go out to the houses to verify what I'm hearing. So she said the thermostat was in a box. What did I ask you when I came in your house?
The thermostat.
Where's the thermostat? I said, here you go. It's right here on the wall. Turned the light on for it. It's right next to the light switch and showed it right to her.
Boom. So do I need a landlord for that?
Nope.
Nope.
Do I think that the tenants put the box on to complain about it?
Nope.
I mean,
I would have the key, wouldn't I?
yeah, I just want to go over these crazy steps that people tell me that I can do.
Right.
And then not to mention that she's in your house at all times,
Right.
uninvited, but
Unannounced.
Who's to say she's not in your living space when you're not there? Because I done came home
She
and
has
seen
keys
things
to everything.
moved around or things looking different. At first when we got there, it was the lockbox over the thermostat thing. But then we look up again and there's aluminum foil over it. But the box was in our living area.
And I want to be, so right, correct. It's something that I can physically see.
Right.
So when people are asking me these questions, I want to make sure they understand. If you say the house wasn't heating properly, what did I do for a few hours?
Exactly.
Came and sat in my living room.
I'm in her living room. So
And
if I
it's
sit
cold.
and it's cold.
Oh, wait. And you came. It was still snow outside.
Oh, it was freezing in that house.
And
It
we
was
had to do what? Give you 2 heaters.
Yeah.
2 heaters for me to stay.
And she so invade your privacy so much. I had just got out the shower. I didn't even know, like Rose said, I didn't even know she was there. Wasn't nobody in the building. I'm going from the shower to my bedroom. She gonna ask me how I'm gonna put on some clothes. I asked her if she gonna knock on the door and let me know she coming in. Because I didn't know you was here.
And that's really called, in legal terms, unlawful entry.
It is.
Once
She
they
does.
turn over the premises to you, you are, through transfer, the owners of the property. Through transfer.
Well, I would like to tell you what I asked her. Can she give me a heads up when the next time she come? Because I feel that I can pay rent and I don't pay to see you every day and all the time, and you're not fixing anything. Oh, I'm the landlord. I can do what I want to do.
Now, am I there for that? No.
And she will tell you that. She told me that on numerous occasions.
And the thing
Oh,
is,
numerous
she's supposed to
occasions.
give you 24
Go, Chris.
hours notice before she can enter your property.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Speak up, sir.
She has to give you 24-hour written notice before she can enter your property.
And I'm very aware of that. And she can be coming in and text me and say 5 minutes. She said, I'll be over today. Don't give you a time. She walks in when she get ready. We find out about it when we hear the door open.
And my argument is 24 hours ain't even enough time, especially if you know that you coming.
But she's not coming to fix anything. She comes just period, just to...
Authority.
She's coming to get
No,
money.
she's
Intimidation.
Coming, yes, intimidation, and she's coming to see. Okay, if common areas are supposed to be clean, you don't know if it was my stuff or his stuff.
stuff.
She would put stuff in front of my door.
Yes. I done
Which-
woke up numerous of times and found things in front of the door, going to the bathroom. I had opened the door and there's a box sitting in front of the door.
Trash and stuff like that. She'll put it because she assumed that we did.
We did it.
And that brings to the point. So to answer people when they ask me, how can I take a tenant without talking to the landlord? Because I physically go myself. I'm not handing out a phone number. I'm not handing them a website. I physically go into the buildings to verify or deny what their complaint is. How many people you think is doing that?
Not too many.
Nobody.
Not a whole lot.
I don't think any doing it. Besides
You're the
you.
first one I done ran across since I've been back to St. Louis that honestly doing it.
I appreciate that.
Because
Me too.
we got a lot of landlords out there, like the one I'm dealing with now. He's mad because I went through an agency and got my rent cut down from $600 to $245. But I'm on a fixed income. You don't want to fix nothing. But if I got them coming in doing the inspection and stuff, you gonna fix what you gonna make it comfortable for me to be here if you want this money coming in.
And I want to go back a second. Because when you said that things need to be fixed and the agency is still paying for it, that's entrapment right there. Because these are the people that's supposed to enforce what our rights are. And not to mention all this public money. Justin and I were talking earlier about all this public funds that is out here. By the time you get it, though, you getting a turkey out of it. Meanwhile, hotels is getting paid. Landlords is getting their money. Slumlords is getting their money.
Yep.
Most people are getting their money except for the people. And even that money that's public access for rent assistance, that still don't go to you. It's going in your name to go to somebody else.
Exactly.
Right back to the real estate association. You understand? So nobody is watching and listening to your complaints of this building ain't
It ain't up to code.
It ain't up to code. And what do they say? Okay, we're going to give you a reduced rent. We're still going to pay it. So you're still going to pay the slumlord. You're not going to demand that he fix anything. You're not going to demand that the property be put up to a code. You're not demanding any of that.
Right.
And they're supposed to, because if it's ran by HUD, it is supposed to be running at a certain standard.
Exactly.
Of course.
And here that is you're coming down to where the problems lie and have been in the community.
You're real low, Chris. We can barely hear you.
I had my face away from the microphone. Is that better? We need to rectify the problems that are going on with entities that are paying this stuff with the money through HUD that shouldn't be there, because if those houses don't follow the qualifications, then HUD won't make the payment. And that money is guaranteed every month, and these people get fat off of it. And that's the part where we need to start utilizing those funds and actually giving you guys a place to live that's yours, that you can be proud of and have pride to come home to.
Exactly.
And not treated the way you've been treated, because you've been totally disrespected and done wrong. You were legitimately falsely put into something, and it was also being falsely paid for by the government that shouldn't have made one of those payments. But we did, all of us did. Because even when, him being retired and on a fixed income, he still worked to be on that fixed income. He's trying to survive on something that barely keeps him, because the money he paid in back then, he's not getting the interest for today. We made this comment earlier. It's not the same. And it's about 10 cents on the dollar. So if we were actually, if he was living on a fixed income of $800 a month or $1,000, $1,200, that should be 10 times that, because that money was actually made in interest over the years. And instead of him getting paid that interest, he's being treated like he's subhuman. And sir, I'm sorry, but you need respect, and you're gonna get it. And I'm glad that you're connected with Rala right now.
Ha! He forgot my name. You can tell.
I got you, Raina. But
He thought about it.
I was trying to figure out it was the Rala Renner show.
Ah, gotcha.
You're a tenant. So
You got to come back louder, Chris. You are so low. I know the studio's not picking you up.
Yeah, it's my internet. I'm sorry, but you will be taken care of. And sorry that you guys have went through what you did, but you will be able to hold your head high. You haven't done anything wrong, and it's time for you to be respected. And it's not something that's unexpected.
Appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
So with that being said, yes. So all across, people have asked me, I talked to council members, that had contacted me. And everybody wants to know, what can be done? What can we do? What can we do? I mean, the reality is,
they need to have these people come out and really do an inspection and put these buildings up.
Nah, let's call it what it is. Why do I have to be evicted and have something on my name to prevent me from getting another place to live that will be adequate for me that I can afford, or try to buy me a house, but yet I got evictions on my name. I got judgments on my name. If it's not legal for you to rent it to me, then why is it legal for you to come evict me from it?
Thank you. Now you don't. There you go. Because that's the whole key. Why are we allowing this to continue? If it's illegal, it's illegal.
Exactly.
Now,
But
how you calling a spade a spade? I mean, you can't call the kettle black in the same instance of you pouring the black coffee into the black pot. I mean, no, you can't do that.
But we are allowing them to do it.
Exactly.
We are exactly allowing them to do it. We've allowed media to do it. They report on houses catching fire all the time, tenants being thrown out, the woman in Fenton, her door removed. They're reporting this all the time. So it's not like people don't know that this is going on.
People just not being about it.
I mean, this is the problem of what we're having. This is the policy entrapment that we live in everyday society. Goes back to the 4 tiers. Media. Does media know?
No.
Does media not? Media reports.
Yes, media reports, but media doesn't know about this situation because, again, we would know. They would shed light on us.
Okay, so maybe not your situation, but if I typed in 3925 Greer, that was the boarding house that I did that media took all over and went national on my work.
Okay.
So from that story, then I would say they do know about a boarding house.
They know about, because she's been going through this for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I done stayed there twice. And the first time she evicted me and put me out, and I went at home when somebody came and broke out my bedroom window. And I just gave her $600.
And you had to go back because options are very limited.
In my case, I went from one landlord doing the exact same thing, and I find out that I'm reading up about the landlord that I'm living now and having this problem with her. And my previous landlord took me to court. I fought, went, judgment, paid the man $2,000. He said he was going to wipe everything off. He told those folks I didn't even pay him $2,000. The lovely thing about Cash App is it's digital. I refuse to pay that man another dollar in his hand. If you don't give me Cash App information, then, sir, you won't get your rent. And that's how I was paying him for that precaution to say my word against yours. Right. But he had me served by the sheriffs because I couldn't continue to keep paying $300 a week. I was only making $300 a week. How am I supposed to go to work?
So let that sink in.
On top of, I just found out literally this month in 2020, this exact same thing. He didn't have an occupancy permit, period. And he was not the original landlord I moved in and gave my deposit to. He didn't even have one either.
So once again,
that property did not get an occupancy until 2020 after I was evicted.
And once again.
And it wasn't for my unit, because my unit to this day is still vacant. It was the unit downstairs. Now, that tenant does not know that she has roof problems, because why? Nobody lives up over her for her to see that the floor is caving in because of my toilet, that Roto-Rooter, that he paid to tell them that. He refused to fix things. I have text messages and pictures from my wall being exposed in my bathroom, heating and cooling going down to the first floor, and you wonder why it's not adequately. In one room it's a freezer, next room is hot, next room is, when you have air conditioning on, your house is 80 degrees. The air conditioning went out 3 times. That man replaced refrigerators 4 or 5 times. Same thing with this landlord. It's like I went from one messed up place to another. And at this point, if they owe me, if they feel I owe them, then what do you owe me? Because I went and endured some things too.
And once again, this is a public outcry of history. What she say? She went from one place to another and endured the exact same thing of the property owners not having occupancy permits.
And I've witnessed it. I witnessed it all.
I did too. I witnessed
Firsthand.
everything, and I went through the same thing because
I
I went
lived
back
in
the
it.
second time.
Now,
Yeah,
I'm not
you went from
here.
her properties
You
to
know.
another property to deal with the same thing. So you're doing it triple first.
You know, I'm going through the same thing with the landlord. But right now, I can't afford to go nowhere because I'm on a fixed income.
Say that.
You know, it's not really an income. Because by the time I get through paying rent, paying the phone bill, and getting the stuff I need to survive, I'm broke to the next month.
Of course you are.
You know,
And this is poverty all over again. So I ain't even from St. Louis. But I clearly and quickly understand through learning that an occupancy permit is supposed to be mandatory prior to moving a tenant in.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying there ain't no slum properties that do have occupancy permits, because I've ran up on those too. But that's another story, another chapter. I'm focused on the ones who just blatantly don't even have one. And all these agencies are paying the rent, and they are considered condemned.
Oh, the landlords tell you who to go to, what agency to
You
go
go
get
to.
funds that will pay them.
Yes, they
Miss
do.
Henrietta Taylor definitely told me to contact Urban League. Oh, and got mad when they had a preliminary process for the STL CARES Act to where you just fill out a basic application and you wait on them. It took them 3 months. That lady said there was no confirmation that you was getting these funds. But you have a check in December, right? The day after, literally the day after these people signed the paperwork. After you put a handwritten 30-day notice on my door. And they called 5 days later and said, we have gave her this check. We can even email you a copy of it in case she says she didn't get it.
So now that would take me to the case in Jennings, Missouri, where the tenants, low income, they went to Better Family Life, and Better Family Life paid the rent on a property that had no occupancy permit to a slumlord who's also an attorney. So when I talk about how organizations got y'all marching out here in the street, but they're paying slumlords for you to live there, I don't make that up. I learn it through the cases.
Yeah.
Right.
I learn it through the paperwork when people show me, hey, Raina, because people got to show me rent receipts. You got to show me something. And they show me.
And I can show you every rent receipt. Every time Interface paid my rent, every time I had to pay my rent, I still got the old lease from me staying there with her.
Well, here's a fun fact. Why does your lease and my lease look totally different?
Oh, wow. I'm glad you brought that up. I have leases here.
Here's another fun fact. How is it that after you get summons to court and they put a legal document on there and said, if you are not the owner, call the owner immediately and let them know about this being posted on your door? I was the one that found that. Called her. She went to court on the 24th of September it was. How was it September 28th? I had a brand new lease and I had been paying $620 and now she charges me $800 a month for the same. I'm sorry. Now, Nate doesn't live there anymore, so I have the whole entire first floor. That means I pay $800 from $620. How is it almost a $200 jump? Because he moved out. Because somebody else upstairs moved out, those people went from $620 to $800. Oh wait, but the man in the basement still pays $620
But how
because
you,
he's her maintenance guy.
You know, but how's you gonna charge her $800 when in the neighborhood that you stay in by law you really can't get no more than $620?
$675.
I was going to bring that up.
Cause
Most
you ain't
people
got
don't
no
know
but
that.
a one bedroom. It's
Do
not
you-
a 2-bedroom.
Exactly.
Do you know in repressed areas, in repressed areas, which most of you will qualify for, your rent is already supposed to be capped at a certain amount because you are considered a repressed area. Your rent should have never hit $600-800.
Nope.
That rent would have been $300 to $500. That would have been the most they could cap you because there's a law that states about distressed areas. But that's not the case. Y'all paying premium market rate rent.
And I have a hole in my ceiling in the bathroom.
For distressed properties.
I know I had to clean the water up.
So imagine what it's like being a tenants advocate that's not from St. Louis. I'm an import. And I'm reading all these agencies that are paying rent on condemned buildings. And when I say condemned, that's not Raina talking. That is the ordinance talking. Without an occupancy permit, the building is considered condemned. So, and overall, to be able to break this whole cycle, here's the trick and the key. The actual good people who really want to help you are entwined with all the people who are paying your rent to the slumlords.
Exactly.
Everybody's so quick to want to get on Urban League. They so quick to want to do this, so quick to do that. And that's when I say, you just ran over to the party that's literally funding the slumlords.
Oh, and the process, well, how are you disabled, or how are you unemployed, or how are you a business owner? How was you infected by COVID-19? Well, ma'am, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you. Here's my business license. Here's my bank account statements. Here's my profit and loss statements, because I do taxes as well. So anything else you need me to show you? I'm a business owner, ma'am. And I'm still being evicted. So what's the difference? I'm still struggling, ma'am, and I'm still trying to make something of myself, ma'am. But I'm asking you to help me. Can you pay this lady for me, please?
And speaking of payment, I have one of those letters. And I'm explaining to you why they evicted you after they got the payment. Because it's written that way. It's written that you will not be evicted while the payment process is taking place. They won't evict you up until then. There's nothing in there that says they can't evict you right after the payment.
And that's literally what she did. Because I asked her, I said, it seems to me that the minute that the check cleared, you wanted me gone. Because that's when I got the harassing letter from her lawyer.
She said, oh, no, it's not about the money.
It's always about the money with Miss Henry.
I said, well, if it's not about the money, we're not here
She's
causing
the
any
money
police.
hungry
Oh,
person.
and that's the thing. We couldn't even call 911 for help. That's written in our lease.
And speaking of
We
lease,
have to call a non-emergency number for help because of the whatever stipulation she has with the city, because they are the ones that took her to court. Because they have been getting complaints that she was running a boarding house again.
speaking of lease, I have one copy of the lease here. But we went over the difference between your lease and Mr. Taylor's lease.
Yep.
Before court and after court.
Yep.
What happened to your lease after she got taken to court?
Okay, so my lease went up to $800. She wants to come in and do a monthly inspection. What else? Oh, I couldn't have anybody spending the night more than 2 nights. My fiance is not legally supposed to be there because, again, he's not on the lease. So she said he couldn't be here no more than 2 nights.
So the lease also went through and gave you, like Mr. Taylor's lease was a flat rate fee amount.
Yeah.
So after she was taken to court, then your lease stated that you not only paid a flat rate, but you paid a daily fee.
Yes.
So let it be clear that after they are taken to court, let's just say somebody does something, nobody is checking to make sure the tenants are okay or the practices stop. Because the landlord and the property owners will go back and make the leases even more brutal to the next round of tenants that come in.
Because she told me on several occasions, I couldn't have nobody spend the night. And like I told her, I'm giving her $500 a month. Whoever laying in my bed, that's my bed.
Exactly.
And they're going to lay in my bed.
Exactly.
Don't get mad at me because if she wanted $540 a month for it, in the face said they won't give her no more than $500.
And she accepted it.
And she accepted. Then she let me move in 2 weeks early. Talking about where I'm going to get the other $200 for. and still keep calling me, asking me for this $200.
To this day.
But you evicted me on knowing that you couldn't rent this house out like you was renting it out. Knowing what was going on. You evicted me, you still think I'm going to give you $200 more?
But wait, Nate.
I'm on a fixed income.
But here's the question. I'm sorry, I just got to point this out. The last time I checked, a month is 12. I'm sorry, at least it's 12 months, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine said February to December 1st. Yours said April 1st of 2020 to March 31st. You had a full year. I didn't. Why did you leave and I didn't? Why did you be forced out and I didn't?
She told
To each,
somebody to go.
I'm finna say, and technically, a lease is basically the agreement between two parties of how long the term will last. So you can have a month to month.
That's what she
You
told
can
me
have
it
a
was
6
month to
month.
month, but then
You
she
can have
told
a
the
9
courts.
month.
She told the courts that she had a year lease with me. But I just told you what she had me to sign. February to December.
That's why she went and got new leases when she did. Because she had to make sure all our lease was year to year.
Is mine still, even February to December is never a year.
Oh, wow.
It's never a year. That doesn't add up to 12 months. She did that because she had a contingency plan to put us out because it coincides with December. So therefore, according to your lawyer's harassment letter stating that I have until January 31st, it was month to month, became month to month after December 31st. Yes. So she allowed me to do it month to month, but in the beginning, that's what you told me I was doing anyway.
Exactly.
So make it make sense.
So even signing a lease, how is a lease legal if the property didn't even have an occupancy permit? How can you sign a contract on something that started out illegally?
And that took me back to my original case. How is it possible for you to evict me from somewhere and for something and ask me for money in the process when the one thing that you were supposed to do, you didn't even secure?
Now, let this all sink in. So this is in principle. Because you either got one or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So there ain't no in between.
I want to see it.
So, and speaking of seeing it, that would be a solution to a lot of these problems. Guess what? What if the courts and the landlords had to produce an occupancy permit prior to them being able to legally file a petition in court? Would that deter slumlords from taking y'all to court?
Yep. Yes, it will.
Yep. That would
Yes, it
kick it
will.
right in the teeth. That would kick it right in the teeth.
Because you have to have proof that you got the permission, the right paperwork to do this like you do.
Boom. And without it, all of y'all are being trapped and all these people doing whatever they want. They filing petitions and evicting you. However they want. Nobody's following rules. And we've allowed that.
Exactly.
But when they come against us, oh, you got to file the petition this way in court. You got to do that in court. You got to have this served. Stuff you wouldn't even have a clue about. They going to make sure to tell you line for line what your responsibility is.
But they ain't going to tell you what the landlord do.
Right. While they've broken their responsibility to you. I don't know how many court cases I have, and I have a few. They don't even have the full petition. All it is a complaint. You're supposed to have the complaint. You're supposed to have a petition. And you're supposed to have some documentation attached. Nothing. They have just the complaint filled out, and the court accepts it.
But see, that's how the city do it. Because in Wellston, I know for sure, if you don't have an occupancy permit, because everybody in that house has to be on that piece of paper.
Yep.
If you don't have an occupancy permit, they're going to shut the whole...
That's more like
down.
St. Louis County.
You know,
St. Louis County actually
down.
makes you have, or sometimes will allow the tenants to go
That's
in and
why
apply for it or whatever.
she could not rent out her mama's
That's what's
house
being told.
like
They
she
have to
wanted
have the tenant's signature on it in the county.
So let me go on to what you just said. So when you bring that up about how tenants have to go in and sign their names on occupancy permits in St. Louis County, that's when I'm going to bring up a case called Cross Keys that I did in an apartment for out in Florissant. Aaron Tossi is a building inspector. He's phenomenal. But guess what I learned? Through that case. See, I learned. I'm a nerd. But every case is different. So in that case, I learned through the tenant in the complaint that she had animals in her apartment building because the branches from the trees grew over to the property and the animals made it a thoroughfare. They've been doing it for so long, they ate through the ceiling or however you want to say it, and you could hear them running in her walls on top of her or in the ceiling. You could hear it. Why? Because I was there. So I verified it. And that's how I know Aaron Tossi. Because I invited the building inspector. Aaron Tossi, come on out. You're the next contestant on the Raleigh Renters Price is Right. Come on down. Okay? So I just want to go through lineage. I'm not just making this up or the people. Step by step. Because I show up to them too. And I showed up to Greer. And I showed up. I always show up. So I'm always first person at that point.
Right.
So we had an occupancy permit that was supposedly signed because she had went and got the paperwork from the city.
Right.
And there was a signature that was supposed to have been of hers. But the problem was, when I rode with them to go to the city to actually get the paperwork, they didn't know where the city was. They didn't know where the building inspector office was. And I could tell literally because I'm riding with them that this was real. Like they literally had no clue because they're Googling. They're going back and forth about even where to go. So that means they ain't never been there before. So how is it the tenant has a signature on an occupancy permit if it's required to go to the municipality to sign, if they don't even know where to go and where the municipality is, how could she have possibly signed the occupancy permit?
Exactly.
So what did I learn through cross keys? Somebody in the building inspection division was allowing the property owners to come pick up applications, and the tenants were signing them. Obviously, if the tenants don't know where the building is, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just walking back lineage. So if the tenants don't know where the building inspector is, but there's a signature, either A, somebody forged her signature, or B, somebody is taking up the paperwork and they're meeting tenants elsewhere.
What?
Instead of the tenants following the proper procedures to go to City Hall. What? So that's where Cross Keys case comes in at. When I talk about the county and how tenants may have been duped and don't know. Florissant has a package for tenants, a very nice package. Mm-hmm. But they expect the real estate associations to tell the tenants about the package. Right. Let that sink in. You expect the property owner to do due diligence to tell the tenant. That's failure on the municipality for putting it on the real estate association. But that's how they do it. So Cross Keys taught me that somebody in the building division is letting real estate agents, property owners skip the process for tenants to walk in and get this packet by taking the occupancy permits from them and taking it to the tenant elsewhere. Right. So it's very possible through Cross Keys, if a St. Louis County person now says, I didn't know about the occupancy permit, or if there's an occupancy permit, I didn't sign that.
Right.
It's valid to me. Why? Because I learned through Cross Keys. Right. So anything that I say out here, people just think I make up. No. I learned it through an actual case, and I might be applying the knowledge to something else, but I really did learn that. Like, I didn't just make it up. Right. That's not how it went. So what I'm seeing is...
You really went and saw it firsthand.
I saw it firsthand. I can say from first person, this isn't from an article, this isn't from Blow Joe down the street, this isn't from my cousin brother Boo next door.
AJ Quan.
Hey, right. Right. K-Rock somebody. Aaron Tossi we physically walked through the house. Right. If you called Aaron Tossi, you might have to ask him a couple more times, but I'm sure he's going to say something like, yeah, I do remember that case. Now, so when I want Aaron Tossi to come on my show and speak, I can't get Aaron. Why? Because Aaron has to go through the municipalities to get permission to be able to do an interview. Right. Do you think the municipalities want me to ask Aaron on the record, hey, Aaron, what about those occupancy permits that the tenants didn't sign and come into the office for? Right. So he's buried. And I actually do like Aaron Tossi. I thought he was phenomenal. He did a phenomenal job. So he is a good guy that's a building inspector that I would never trash. He showed me integrity, but I can't get him on my team. Why? Because then I would have to blow Florison's secret about how the occupancy permits were done. So with that being said, I'll turn it back over. That's where I get crushed because I know dirty little secrets that's surrounding good people that the other people who allowed the dirty little secrets to take place don't want out.
Exactly.
Right.
So if you're an organization and you invite legal services and our city defenders and them are the people that you're following, and I say, psst, hey, I did a case of 3925 Greer, and I brought them on, and they dogged my people out.
We're not going to talk about our city defenders. Those people told me, oh, we don't think your case is good enough for us to take. And that's the case that I had on the South Side. When I was going to court, I reached out to them first.
And I personally believe, I'm not saying they may not have taken the case, but I knew that when I brought the 3920...
That man asked me, did I have any money to pay the rent when I went to court, and I told him, no, I didn't have the money.
I believe you, because that's exactly what they ask
And
all
he
the
said,
tenants.
well, we'll take a look at your case and call you back.
Did you pay the rent? I was there. I was there when the EHOC brought the law students down from WashU. I'm there with other tenants. I'm there with a WashU student. I'm standing there with my mouth closed. I'm an observer. I'm having a young 20-some-year-old ready to graduate and be an attorney. They're law students.
Right.
Talk to the tenants crazy. Crazy.
Wow.
So if our legal organizations are bringing law students in, and that's what's happening, allowing law students to talk to you crazy, and that's the whole thing. Did you pay the rent? How much money do you have to pay? They didn't give a damn that I had the building inspections showing the house had no heat. I got it. It was condemned. They didn't care. Blew right past it all.
Sure did. I told them all of that. They said, ma'am, that's not going to matter to the judge when you get there. He's not going to want to hear that. I say, but ain't you supposed to be on my defense? That's what they told me to call you for.
So let that sink in. So that's in that 4-tier system of where you're supposed to go to get relief.
Right.
So they groom these attorneys in school to literally hate tenants. They're not grooming them properly to say, hey, did you have an occupancy permit? All you hear is you signed the contract, you agreed to $800 a month, you didn't pay for 3 months. Have you ever been to court and you have a judge go down the list of questions they ask tenants? It's just like that.
Yep.
Did you sign this lease agreement? You moved in?
You lived there?
You lived there? Did you pay March? Did you pay May? Did you pay June? Did you pay? They're going to keep going down until you say no. Because they know that you don't know your legal rights. And you are not going to be bold enough to want to stop the judge and be like, well, Your Honor, this. Right. Because the judge is guiding you through these questions so he can write that judgment the way that he can to make it legally look like you admitted and you did. But they omitted, you just said or showed the property didn't have an occupancy permit.
Right.
Or it was a hole in the roof.
Right.
Or it was condemned. So when you have that, it don't work.
Right.
You can bring it up in court, and they will not use it. It will be ignored. I mean, by the judge totally. I know that for a fact. It happened to me. And my landlord actually had committed suicide, but I think it was the other way around. I don't think she killed herself, but she's a school teacher. And I paid my rent ahead of time, months and months ahead of time, because I knew she needed the money. And it was Christmas time when all this went on, but my water heater had went out. It flooded my entire basement, her sump pump, but then it blew my hot water heater, my furnace, everything. I had no heat, I had nothing through the winter. and I had to heat with electric heaters, and my bills were crazy. Well, I also got told by her family that they were letting the property go back, and I didn't need to pay rent anymore. And they sued me, and I'm still paying on it, but I paid $20 toward it.
And you still paying on it.
But I'm still paying on it.
Yes, and that's it right there. They will make you pay until you die. And now they're trying to write legislation that now your rent and your judgments are starting to become a part of your estates. So now they're trying to write it to where your family, even after you're dead, will pay your debts on rent. They're writing it right now. They're drafting it right now. Let that sink in. So they're trying to draft how your estate is still eligible to have to pay for real estate debt. It's being drafted. So this is another piece of the puzzle of poverty that would definitely destroy entire families and lineage. A lot of these judgments, they have an interest rate that's calculated. So not only did they take you to court on something condemned, not only did they charge you full rate, and in Missouri, if they charge you $50 a day, depending on what county you in, the court says nothing. They accept it. So you got these gargantuan late fees, and you have an annual interest rate put on top of that judgment. So when you go to work, you get a decent job. And I know, so that would take me to Sunset Hills case of a guy who made decent money, and they started garnishing him. And he rented from TEH Realty, a slum all over the news. So once again, the media was aware, legislators knew, courts knew, everybody knew. But he still has a judgment on his record demanding he pay the money from TEH Realty. Let all that sink in. Miss Joy Hill, I see you up there. See, she's watching.
Yeah, sure seen her when she popped in.
Miss Joy. Just can't be sliding on my show with that talk. Maybe we might have got her where she's impromptu, and usually she's pretty quick about coming on. You know, these are the things of the stories downstairs, trying to get people to understand. We got 4 avenues: the individual, the courts, the legislators, and the media.
Right.
The media's already told our story over and over and over and over and over again.
Right.
So ignorance ain't even the defense. The courts know, because that's where we got to file over and over and over again.
Exactly.
The legislators know, because they're running in politics, so you can't tell me nobody ever calls them and complains. And of course, the individual is the one who's doing it to you.
Right.
So if people will focus and settle down and stay to the cause at hand, and if you go after those 4 tiers in a very unified fashion, well, there you go. I bet you progress will be made then.
Right.
Yeah.
I bet you progress will be made then.
Right.
Yeah.
It will be made then.
It would be made. And that's about the only way you're going to be able to make it. Because now you've got people in a corner, so to speak.
Right.
They can't keep lying and denying.
Right.
You've given them the seed of pain, which we're all going through.
Exactly.
There's a process that needs to be repaired on so many levels. From people receiving all this grant money to paying the slumlords, to how many judgments are based on condemned buildings, to the properties being fixed and not being paid for.
Right.
See, that's where I could see Chris as a builder. See, Chris in his voice, I could see contacting all these different organizations who actually pay the slumlords. Because if he finds out who their grant money's coming from, he might be able to holler at them like, psst, psst, psst. But problem is, a lot of it's coming out of our pockets from the public.
Yeah, buddy.
We're paying for this.
And that's the one thing. I am a 501c3.
I heard that on our last podcast that I was on, that you were on that. And I'm very interested in learning, some things about that.
Hopeforhousing.org.
And
I definitely will look you up.
And that's hope for, and You just want to put hope and then housing our people everywhere. That's the only way you're going to find us. But there's 13,000 hopes on Facebook, so I'm happy to be in the first couple of searches anyway.
Okay.
I mean, we're at least meeting the need across the nation of spreading a seed. I'm just trying to plant one myself and get people to start sharing a message. Share everything we got going, because we are coming to every community. I've got every zip code in St. Louis, in a hedge fund up in New York that is looking for property for us to start our projects down there. So we are coming, and I look forward to helping you guys with your situation now.
Appreciate that.
And so we are coming to a close. I got 2 minutes left, not even 2. So I want to thank everybody who showed up here today.
Woo woo.
I thank you.
Hey.
For
I
the
thank
public.
you for letting me be able to speak about it. I didn't go the way I wanted to, but on a respectful tip, I really appreciate you doing it.
And I'm not opposed to doing this again.
Okay.
So y'all have more time, but now you understand.
Yeah.
One time it's gone, and I can't reproduce it.
Yeah,
So I have to keep the conversation, the lineage of what was transpired, and then blend it on in, because y'all would have took the show at the top of the hour. Then you would have had plenty of time to kick your story out. So you're more than welcome. If we want to set this up for next week, and then I will start inviting the council members and all the people who contacted me, and we can have another forum. I might have Miss Marion Howley, the 78-year-old lady family, here as well, since y'all both are going through the same thing.
Okay.
So I want to thank everybody who came out and participated. We are wrapping up this show so we can give it to Kick It and Company that is coming up.
Yeah, because I'm hungry.
But we all definitely enjoyed it. As soon as I can figure out how to do something here. So definitely, I want to say thank you to everybody. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Love you. Trying to pull up my music.
Peace.
Oh, there it is.
It's good, man. I seen
And I'm going to take it out with Ghost. What up?
Hello.
Bye-bye. See you next time.
St. Louis, you did it again. You made another
All right, y'all.